this is all a scam. I mean, we got people that's getting ready to retire that's going to try to live off $2,000 to $3,000. Impossible. It's impossible. Because what happens, it comes up here, we spend it. We're $35 trillion in debt. We don't have union money. We're dead broke. And then taxpayers have $2 trillion in credit card debt. We are in huge trouble. In this body, we had better start figuring that out, because we're going to have a run on this city here soon, and there's going to be about 150 million people coming up for.
Move too quickly to roll back some of the executive orders of your predecessor.
Rolling back the policies of remain in Mexico, sitting on the edge of the Rio Grande in a muddy circumstance with not enough to eat. I make no apologies for that.
Why do you need to take executive action on the border?
Because we need more forces on the border. I don't have the authority to do that.
Should the president take that executive action?
Needs to be looking at executive orders.
The president needs to be looking at executive orders.
Under Joe Biden, the United States has become nothing less than a massive dumpster for the world's prison populations.
Countries such as Venezuela are known to be emptying out their prisons and their mental institutions, and they're sending them to America. They're happy to let our open border be the solution to their problems and their responsibilities.
And as the great unknowns wash in, Americans are being at an astounding pace.
Was there a breakdown in the system?
So, Margaret, first of all, let me say that we don't use the term illegal immigrants.
The 5 men in the van that hit motorcyclists from Fort McCoy last weekend were all undocumented immigrants. The FHP arrest report identified Demetrio Moreno Alahua as the driver, as well as 4 passengers. The investigator called them all, quote, illegal aliens. They're accused of hitting the 74-year-old and leaving him, instead running away.
So our complainants got home from the grocery store. They were unloading groceries, the whole family. These men came out from the side of the yard, approached them.
To add treason to injury, Joe Biden has secretly flown 320,000 illegal immigrants from Latin American airports to 43 U.S. cities, while U.S. Customs and Border Protection is refusing to identify which cities they are landing in. This after FOIA litigation revealed the Biden administration's utilization of the CBP-1 cell phone scheduling app. According to journalist Todd Bensman, under these legally dubious parole programs, aliens who cannot legally enter the country use the CBP-1 app to apply for travel authorization and temporary humanitarian release from those airports.
69-year-old Frances Walker is being remembered tonight as generous, kind, and caring.
She's a really good person, and bad things happen to good people sometimes. Nobody deserves what happened to her.
The beloved woman was involved in her church community and was an accompanist at the Evanston School of Ballet for many years.
She spends her time in church, playing piano in masses, in weddings, and, like funerals and all that. And she loves music.
Investigators believe one of her tenants killed her using a butcher knife. Her remains found in a freezer inside her boarding house near Washtenaw and Thorndale Monday night.
The detectives believe the crime actually occurred in the victim's bedroom, and then they do believe that the dismemberment took place on the first floor of that residence.
Sandra Kolalu has been charged with first-degree murder and concealment. NBC5 learned she was in the process of being evicted. Family believes Walker's dog was also killed. Tenants called police when they couldn't get a hold of Walker for hours and knew something was wrong. Officers showed up that evening to find Kolalu getting into a tow truck that they say she ordered using the victim's credit card.
The defendant at that time said that she knew her rights, didn't want to talk to the police, entered the tow truck.
The tow truck driver took Kolalu to Foster Beach, where he told investigators she dumped a large bag into a garbage can. Inside, they found bloody rags. Family never imagined Walker's life would end like this.
Oh, this is horrible. This is I don't know. It's something that should not happen.
Please help me!
40 false killer whales and one bottlenose dolphin had to be euthanized last night after becoming stranded near Mahia Peninsula in Hawke's Bay. Earlier, locals had managed to refloat them before they became beached again. As Henry McMullen reports, it was the first stranding of the species here in around 4 decades.
Fast approaching the Mahia coastline. This local watching from the top of the hill.
We thought, this is odd, this isn't normal.
Fascination quickly turning to concern.
You're gonna get beached, mate. Oh my God!
The 45-odd false killer whales and one bottlenose dolphin first stranded before 2 p.m. yesterday at the rocky beach in Taylors Bay.
They were screaming. It is probably the thing that's stopping me from sleeping because you can hear this screaming in your ears. They were making more than a noise. They were really yelling out for help.
While whale strandings aren't uncommon, for this species, it's extremely rare.
With the tragic events that unfolded, there's got to be something in the haystack to look for that is a bit of positivity, and we hope to learn a lot more.
Like why these creatures stranded in the first place.
So is there any connection between all this seismic activity, or is it coincidental that we seem to be off to a shaky start in 2024?
comrades that are here with us today. I know for a fact that we have fellow Jewish students here at NYU that are out here today, that are organizing, that are putting themselves on the line.
This all in an effort to break America, hollowing out the working poor and the middle class while gradually bankrupting the welfare benefit systems funded by the U.S. taxpayers.
The last summer, New York State offered to help by launching a $25 million migrant relocation program, paying an entire year's rent for every migrant family that chooses to move out of the city. The problem is New York's suburban communities don't want them.
I'm here to speak on behalf of the poor, the elderly, who are struggling because of the issues that you deal with and how you deal with them. If we look at Denver with 40,000 immigrants, and we think that they cost $1,000 a month for housing, it's going to be $480 million for 1 year. That's just $1,000, and I don't think you can get housing for that. If you feed those people $40,000 at $200 a month per person, I don't think that's possible today. If any of you have gone to the grocery store, that's $96 million in a year. We are headed for a tsunami.
And once the hotels, free food, and money runs out, untold chaos is the only possible outcome and intention.
Biden's deliberate inaction has left Texas to fend for itself. The goal of Senate Bill 4 is to stop the tidal wave of illegal entry into Texas. It creates a criminal offense for illegal entry into Texas from a foreign nation. For repeat offenders, It creates the offense of illegal reentry with a potential prison sentence term of up to 20 years.
The Texas law known as SB 4, the bill passed by the state legislature, allows Texas law enforcement to arrest anyone they suspect of being in the U.S. illegally. 1 week ago, Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito announced that his temporary stay on the law would be extended until today. The Texas legislature passed the bill in December as part of an escalating battle with the Biden administration over border policies. The U.S. Justice Department and several civil rights groups sued to block it, saying only the federal government has the right to enforce immigration law. Governor Abbott and other supporters of SB 12 say the measure seeks only to enforce what is already the law of the land. The governor adding that Texas has a right to defend itself against what he calls an invasion at the southern border.
The pause on the Texas law that allows law enforcement to arrest illegal immigrants is set to end after the Supreme Court extended it last week. So what comes next for my home state of Texas as the state prepares for a border showdown with the Biden administration? Where does this go? It looks like the showdown is finally about to happen.
So, Lawrence, we've been in this showdown now for years since Biden became president. Seems like every day. So what the Supreme Court did last week was put a pause, a hold on the law going into effect. And what they will decide today is whether or not the law can go into effect while it's being resolved in the courts, which will take time, or is it on the hold still? So it's not a decision whether it's constitutional or not today. It's can it go into effect, which we hope it can. And to the Supreme Court justices who are watching Fox, I'm sure this morning as they get up early, look, we're being attacked, Lawrence, by land, by sea, by air. Literally, millions coming across the border, many armed, many criminals, terrorists, by sea, because boats have been going into Florida with drugs and illegal immigrants for years, and now air, 1,000 drones a month, according to the U.S. military, and we've been seeing them for a while, over our Texas border, spying on us to help send drugs and illegal immigrants across the border. So by land, by sea, by air, I call that an invasion.
So Lieutenant Governor, it's so interesting because the outrage now from the media, the Democrats, they're trying to influence the court in this way, is against Texas and not the people that are illegally coming across the border. So what would the bill do?
Well, Lawrence, thank you for asking. I wrote the bill with Senator Charles Perry, and we passed it late November or December at the end of many special sessions. It basically says we can arrest, we can detain, and we can either put you in jail or send you back. We can do that, and we should have that right.
This is all a scam. I mean, we got people that's getting ready to retire that's going to try to live off $2,000 to $3,000. Impossible. It's impossible. Because what happens, it comes up here, we spend it. We're $35 trillion in debt. We don't have union money. We're dead broke. And then taxpayers have $2 trillion in credit card debt. We are in huge trouble. In this body, we had better start figuring that out, because we're going to have a run on this city here soon, and there's going to be about 150 million people coming up here saying, where's our damn money that we paid in? I could have put my Social Security money for 40 years in tax in the market, and probably be worth 8 to 10 million today. But the federal government wasted it. So I'll get off my horse there. But it's good that we have this, because we got, I get a little pension check from education. I was part of a union. It's not going to help people. People are going to have to work, continue to work longer and longer. Am I right, Ms. Gender? Can you say something about Social Security and it being taxed for some reason? We're taxing people for the second time on the Social Security that they put into an account.
Yeah, and I'd like to point out when Social Security was first founded, those who established it, it was started out as a 2% tax, and they said this will never take more than 6% of your income. Today it takes 12.4%. And depending on whether you go with CBO or Social Security trustees, it needs to take between 15.8 and 17.5%. So we're talking about thousands of dollars more per year. It also was actually only originally recommended that the tax be up to $66,000, equivalent in today's dollars of earnings. But over time, it has expanded massively, and the money has been spent every year. So whereas everybody thinks this money's been set aside for me, no, for the past 13 years, every dollar that has gone out of workers' paychecks has gone immediately to pay promised benefits. And that's what happens when you have a system that enables those in charge of it to spend the money in the immediate term and leave the buck to the next generation that's coming along. And because Social Security has grown so much, it's actually to the detriment of lower income workers in particular, who have to pay such a large share of their paycheck to Social Security. They have little left to save for retirement, and then lower income and African American workers have the lowest life expectancies. So they are the most likely to get nothing back in return. 1 out of 4 African American men will die between the ages of 45 and 64 after having paid into this system for decades, tens if not hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they might get nothing back.
What's the solution?
I think we ultimately have to shift towards a universal benefit system. That's what true social insurance is. It does not make sense that we are paying the biggest benefits to the highest income earners. So gradually over time, I think we need to bend down the benefits for the middle and upper income earners, actually increase them for the lower income earners, look at things like indexing retirement age to life expectancy, more accurate inflation index, and I think that workers need an option to have their money in something that actually earns a positive rate of return and that can't just immediately be spent by Congress.
Hey, so today I experienced something that I've never experienced in my life before. Freaked me out, thought I was crazy. Still haven't processed it fully. So, as I do every week, twice a week, I make deliveries to the same guy. I've been doing it for 7 months. And it's the same guy every time I walk in. He's got a big garage with like a couple trucks in it. I walk in, I hand him his parts, we talk for a minute, I walk away. I go on my business. Today, I walked in, and he had his back to me, and he was working on his bench, and he must have heard me coming. I don't know, because I was actually pretty quiet, I thought, but when he turned around, I jumped and kind of grabbed my mouth like that because I didn't know what to think. And he laughed a little bit and he called me jumpy. And I was like, yeah, no, I'm just not feeling very good. And I handed him his part and I was like, hey, I gotta go. The reason I reacted that way is because when I looked at him, he was different. He didn't look like the same guy I saw every other time. First thing I saw was he had no color in his eyes. They were completely black. Like black, like you couldn't even see reflections. It was just a black mass. And for some reason his ears were kind of weird and they had like this little point like that. I don't know what that was. Excuse me. But then I was talking to my friend, and he sent me an article about them saying that a new disorder that's coming out where people are starting to see demon faces in people. And it got me thinking, if they're putting something like that out, could it be a disorder, or is it God is actually letting people see demons, and they're just trying to make it look like we're crazy? I still can't process it. I can't. I don't know. And like ever since the eclipse, I find it funny. The clouds look different for some reason. I don't know what it is yet. I'm going to figure that one out. But that could be just me being dumb. The other thing I saw, like I have perfect vision. So I don't know what I saw. If anybody else has ever seen this, can you please let me know, because I'm kind of weirded out right now. Anyway, God bless.
New details details about the mother believed to be at the center of a horrific murder-suicide. Investigators now looking at her social media, saying the self-proclaimed astrologer made several posts about the total solar eclipse before the tragedy. And Eyewitness News reporter Leanne Suter has been following this story since it happened. And Leanne, what can you tell us?
David, that new information certainly giving us some insights into Danielle Johnson's state of mind on Monday. Her social media showing serious concerns about the eclipse. It's a heartbreaking tragedy. An infant killed after being pushed out of the car by her mother on the 405. A boyfriend stabbed to death. The suspect, Danielle Johnson, taking her own life by crashing into a tree. The burning question for so many, why? Investigators now combing through the 34-year-old's social media for clues. Johnson, who went by Danielle Ioka online, was a popular astrology influencer and self-proclaimed divine healer with more than 100,000 followers on X. She also said she was a recording artist. In the days leading up to Monday's eclipse, she posted about the end of the world. One post reading in part, "Wake up, the apocalypse is here." In another, she said the eclipse is the epitome of spiritual warfare, and that if you ever need to pick a side, the time to do right in your life is now. On Johnson's website, she says she was an astrologer and Reiki master, trained in over 10 different alternative healing modalities. Her career, her online posts, and her deadly path of tragedy, all part of the ongoing investigation as detectives try to figure out a motive.
Given that the only witness we really have to this crime now is a 9-year-old girl, there's just very little information we have other than there was a verbal altercation that turned violent and it ended in tragedy.
Detectives say they are interviewing family and friends to get a better understanding of Johnson's mental status, but say they may never know what the exact motive was for the heartbreaking murder.
Or send you back. We can do that, and we should have that right. You know, I've been in the legislature now 17 years. Years and years ago, I was in the Texas Senate, and I had this concept of it's illegal to cross into Texas illegally. So it's illegal to be illegal. And back then, it wasn't the crisis it was today, and people said, you could never do that. But it is a crisis. It is an invasion. By every definition of the Constitution, it's clear to me that this is an invasion. It's a hostile group. It's an organized militia, in essence, the cartels. They are here to plunder Texas and America. They're doing it all over the country. We have people dying from fentanyl. We have people like Laken Riley being murdered by an illegal immigrant, and you see a story like that every day. This Supreme Court has to understand that our founding fathers, Lawrence, never, ever imagined we'd have a president so weak as to open our border and let millions cross. And in those millions, in essence, is an organized operation that the cartels are running.
You know, Lieutenant Governor, it's the perfect segue because I want you to react to this. We're learning more about this illegal migrant, Corey Alvarez, that was allowed into the country. He raped this 15-year-old girl. He was allowed in the U.S. through a parole program that allows up to 30,000 migrants per month into the country. What's your reaction?
Look, President Joe Biden has sold this country out. And every American citizen who dies at the hands of someone here illegally, whether it's a drunk driver, we see that all the time, or a crime like Laken Riley, or these children being attacked and raped, go down the list. Every week we see these crimes happen at the hands of illegals.
U.S. intelligence officials are warning about a significant increase in potential threats against the U.S. FBI Director Christopher Wray says among the biggest concerns, known or suspected terrorists using fake IDs after crossing the southern border.
Obviously, the crisis at the southern border is complex, and it's more complex than just people walking across the southern border. It's the individuals that are coming over and they aim to break the rules or have an intent to do us harm that really has law enforcement concerned right now. The FBI acknowledging that publicly, warning the nation that there is an imminent threat coming in each and every day. Now, what's worse here as well is that the documents that they're providing aren't necessarily viable. They're using those documents after they're processed and released, and validating these documents is nearly impossible in many cases because we cannot vet people if we don't communicate well or have a relationship with their home country. Then those same documents are what are being used to fly them across the country. While Americans go through that TSA shakedown, the southern border rolls out the red carpet. We have seen migrants cross the border one day and just a few days later ready to fly to their destinations. Some of their airports that migrants are flying into and out of even have special lines for migrants, according to former HSI Special Agent Victor Avila.
You would think any ordinary human being who cared about American lives would say, we got to put a stop to this. This is out of control. But what are they focused on? The administration fixing soft-serve ice cream machines at McDonald's? That seems to be their focus. I mean, any rational human being, Lawrence, in the White House would say, I don't know what we've been doing, but this has to stop now. But he didn't even know Laken Riley's first name, and he never called the family after it happened in those early days.
So Dan,
he should have.
how
he
does
doesn't
this
care. He does not care.
How does this impact the election? And I'm not just talking about the presidency. I saw that there were several members in the Texas House and our legislator in Texas that weren't strong on the border. Texas gave them the boot. But on the federal level, how is it going to impact the people that are in Congress that may be a part of the other party, the Democratic Party? Do you see some sort of impact back in home Texas?
Well, I do, Lawrence. And look, the other news of the Hezbollah illegal immigrant we captured about a week and a half ago, who said he was coming here to New York to build a bomb. And then he recanted and they came back. Look, we have arrested nearly 300 people on the terrorist watch list. Again, we're being invaded. And I think what will happen in November, Lawrence, is this country is going to pick a side. Because that's what this election is about. Pick a side.
This country is going to pick a side. Because that's what this election is about. Pick a side.
And my uncle, they called him Ambrose, they called him Bosie. My Uncle Bosie was a hell of an athlete. They'd tell me when he was a kid. And he became an Army Air Corps before the Air Force came along. He flew those single-engine planes as reconnaissance over war zones. He got shot down in New Guinea. And they never found the body because there used to be a lot of cannibals for real in that part of New Guinea. And they never found the body because there used to be a lot of cannibals for real in that part of New Guinea.
Why is President Biden saying that his uncle Bosie was eaten by cannibals?
So, I answered this question yesterday. I believe I've seen some clips on your network about me answering this question. I don't have much to say beyond what I said to some of your colleagues. Look, I was there. I think you traveled with us too to Pennsylvania. I'm not sure if you were there at the memorial in Scranton. The president had a emotional and I think a symbolic moment.
The president had a emotional and I think a symbolic moment.
Earthquakes hitting California and Hawaii.
Tonight, damage assessments underway after Southern California was rattled by a 4.6 magnitude earthquake.
The entertainment capital of the world is also home to several influencers who were creating content when their focus was suddenly shifted.
We have
I think I'm gonna go collarbone length. Oh, is that her? Who are you? Oh my God! Love Oh my God!
The quake came hours after a 5.7 magnitude shaker jolted the Big Island of Hawaii. The USGS says the earthquake struck Mauna Loa, the world's largest active volcano.
It definitely moved a lot around here.
The California quake coming on the heels of a 5.7 quake that hit the Big Island of Hawaii. Reporter Jeremy Lee from our station KITV is near the epicenter.
It was felt all over the island. Not only that, but also on other islands. Reports of the earthquake felt on Maui, on Oahu.
That quake also followed by multiple aftershocks.
For the third time in 2 months, a volcano has roared to life in Iceland. A state of emergency has been declared.
This is the second time, that was the second time the village came in the line of fire with that first eruption in December. These events, Carl and Sarah, are providing spectacular images, but they are causing serious headaches.
Iceland averages an eruption every 4 or 5 years, but volcanologists are concerned about this kind of sustained activity just about 30 miles from its capital.
A road near one of Iceland's top attractions, the Blue Lagoon, cut off. A fiery mess pouring across the bitumen, engulfing the highway, leaving several cars stranded. There had been warning signs before the volcano erupted near the town of Grindavik, with hundreds of small earthquakes in recent days.
Well, this is the third time the volcano has erupted since last December. Iceland typically experiences an average of one eruption every 3 to 4 years.
On this vote, the yeas are 70, the nays are 29. The bill, as amended, passes.
After a Senate vote that easily surpassed the chamber's 60-vote threshold for passage, the bill to approve roughly $95 billion in aid for Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan was sent to the House of Representatives on Tuesday. But the foreign aid package faces an uncertain future in the Republican-controlled House.
This is a critical act for the House to move. It needs to move. The bill provides urgent funding for Ukraine so it can keep defending itself.
President Joe Biden pressed the chamber to move on the bill swiftly.
For Republicans in Congress who think they can oppose funding for Ukraine and not be held accountable, history is watching. History is watching. History is watching. Failure to support Ukraine at this critical moment will never be forgotten. This bipartisan bill sends a clear message to Ukrainians and to our partners and to our allies around the world. America can be trusted. America can be relied upon. And America stands up for freedom. We stand strong for our allies. We never bow down to anyone, and certainly not to Vladimir Putin. So let's get on with this.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky quickly hailed passage of the bill. He sees the funding as crucial as his country continues to repel Russian attacks and tries to keep its battered economy going as the war nears its third year. It remains unclear when or if Republican Speaker Mike Johnson will allow a House vote. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer urged him to do so.
I call on Speaker Johnson to rise to the occasion, to do the right thing. Bring this bill to the floor.
Biden has been pushing Congress to pass more aid for Ukraine for months, but has faced opposition from Republican hardliners.
We stand with America or with Trump.
Secure border, for a constitution, lower inflation, a stronger military. I can go through every list that Joe Biden is disrupted this country. Anything good for this country, he's done just the opposite. And America is going to react. And let me tell you what, many people in the inner cities of America, in these blue cities, in these blue states, are going to react to the illegal immigrants who are all over their town, that we wisely put them on a bus and sent them there to make this a national story. Will it be a 49-state to one? No. But will it be an overwhelming win by Donald Trump? Yes, because Americans will pick a side. Make America great again, make America secure again, and make American cities great again.
It's such a good point. You're kicking, kids out of schools in Chicago, saying there's no funding for them for the health centers in Harlem. You got the seniors housing there that they're finding housing for the migrants there, but you can't take care of the American citizens. They don't put them in downtown. They put them in the poor neighborhoods. Lieutenant Governor, we got to leave it there. Thanks so much for joining the program.
Thank you, Lawrence.
Tom, big development here. So what Governor Abbott just did is he made coming into this country illegally a state crime, and police can arrest illegal immigrants as a result of this wherever they are in the state. What do you think about this?
I'm behind them 100%. I mean, the federal government has abdicated their responsibilities to secure the border. And look, the Biden administration has been very successful on the open borders agenda. They haven't done a single thing to slow the flow. This isn't mismanagement. It isn't incompetence. It's by design. He ran on open borders, and you got to give him credit. He's kept his promise. So I salute Governor Abbott. I mean, we got to protect this country, and we look at and know how many people off the terrorist watch list have been arrested. An historic number. Governor Abbott's trying to protect Texas, and in doing so, he's protecting his country.
Yeah, the other side is saying that this is unconstitutional because immigration enforcement is a federal responsibility. But to your point, what if the federal government isn't doing the enforcement? So there's certainly going to be a legal showdown on this front. One of the big issues right now, though, Tom, is that once migrants are in this country who cross illegally, they're here to stay. If you look at the deportation numbers, Trump versus Biden in 2019, under former President Donald Trump, there were over 260,000 deportations. In 2022, that number dropped to 72,000. And you say that if Trump wins, you want to help launch a massive and historic deportation program where no one is off the table. What do you mean by that?
Well, if Trump actually wins the presidency and they ask me to come back, yeah, it has to be done, Carly. I mean, what is the alternative? I mean, if millions of people are entering the country illegally, making a false claim to asylum, because the data clearly shows nearly 9 out of 10 of these people will be ordered removed by an immigration judge. So we spend billions of dollars in due process. Okay, you can claim asylum, you get to see a judge. But at the end of all this, if a federal judge says you must leave, we have to execute those orders. If we don't, then might as well shut down the immigration courts. Might as well Take the border patrol off the border. There's a system in place. We'll give you the due process, but if you lose, you got to go home. Because your alternative is, okay, you let millions stay. What's that going to do? Just brings millions of more. We're a nation of laws. You have a right to claim asylum, but if you get order removed, we have the right to remove you. That is the way the law reads. We're a nation of laws, and we got to enforce those laws.
Baby daddy is like Drake has a rich baby daddy named Lucien and Universal. Wow. He's like, like, man, my daddy got it. You know what I'm saying? It's like, my daddy controlled the spins. My daddy got the DSPs. My daddy, Drake has a rich baby daddy named Lucien. So all of his streams in the number ones is controlled by someone named Lucien. Or Lucien worked for people who control the banks in Africa. If you posting something negative, you're just on the wrong side of the future, because, we out here stepping away from Adidas, like the shit that Kai sent somebody, that's some industry plan shit. He gotta be talking shit about my pants. So he's an industry plan. Of course, he's an opposite. Total, fucking, that exact genre is the most industry plans. It's about, like, influence and mind control, and then he gonna mention my daughter's name a week later. It's like, nigga, don't mention my daughter's name and then you dissing what's paying a $200,000 a month child support. Wow. That's the billionaire child support is different. Yeah, but it's like, don't mention this and then mention my daughter's name. It's like, it be that kind of shit where I'm like, that don't make God happy.
At home, there's a proposed new gun law in Tennessee that has people on both sides of the issue fired up and speaking out. CBS's Mark Strassman reports tonight from Nashville on the controversial plan to allow teachers to carry guns.
Tennessee high schoolers again skipped school to protest, taking aim at a proposed gun law that they say takes aim at them. It would allow teachers to carry guns in the classroom.
The future of our state is at stake.
They have the voices, but they don't have the votes. Earlier this month, Tennessee State Senate approved a bill allowing teachers and school staff to carry concealed handguns. To supporters, it's a deterrent.
That we are not trying to shoot a student, but protect a student from an active shooter.
The debate took a dramatic turn when State Senator London Lamar spoke out while cradling her 8-month-old son.
Because I'm mad because this bill puts my child at risk.
16 states and the District of Columbia have laws that prohibit teachers from carrying guns. But these protests come in a city still reeling from last year's horrific mass shooting at the Covenant School. 3 students and 3 staff members were killed. It ignited calls for the reform of state gun laws, but opponents say not this law.
And you feel that students are at risk with this bill?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We're putting a job on the teacher that they should never have.
But Tennessee's Republican lawmakers are sticking to their guns.
There's some counties where they may only have 2 deputies on shift. This bill tries to fix that problem and protect children.
If the bill passes the Republican supermajority in the House, Tennessee's governor seems poised to sign.
Have you done everything you can possibly do to make our schools safe across the state? I believe that this is a method by which we can do that, because what you're doing is you're creating a deterrent.
We need to stop the guns before they get to the school. They should never get to the schoolhouse door. You all want to bring the gun battle into the classroom.
Major effort is underway in Chile, where wildfires are ravaging the country's central region.
Emergency teams have been struggling to control the fires, which have spread rapidly across the Valparaiso region. The forest fires are thought to be the deadliest ever recorded in Chile.
The nearly 100 fires come amid a summer heat wave in Chile, consecutive days of sweltering, dry temperatures.
As the smoke blankets the sky, fueled by strong winds and higher than usual temperatures, the flames destroying more than 1,100 homes and burning at least 100,000 acres of land. And when the flames have been extinguished, the destruction is apocalyptic.
The rare earthquake off the central Florida coast. The 4.0 magnitude quake happened just before 11 o'clock last night, about 100 miles off the Cape.
I saw this morning and thought it was a mistake. But, we had
like
said it was
maybe that was
Florida,
Alaska, somewhere
right.
different.
Like, no, it wasn't here.
So we've learned it's rare, but it might happen more than you think. People felt it over in Brevard County, all the way up to Jacksonville in the north.
This map shows all of the fault lines in the world. You can see this fault line going right across the coast of Asia. Over here, you can see it lines the west coast of North America. Then by Florida, there are no lines.
It's so interesting because when you are in an earthquake, when you feel it, you know something is different. And it's just so unsettling to feel the earth feel like liquid.
It's a freaky feeling. I've lived in Florida a long time. Never have really felt that here.
Yeah, don't want to either.
Me out.
We do begin with what's being called one of the most dramatic weather days in recent memory in California.
State of emergency in Southern California. The LA River has completely flooded, leaving fast gushing water under an overpass. Look at the scenes like this. Rapids. That's what the LA River has turned into.
Now those rabid rapids taking over. We've had more than a month's worth of rain in just the last 12 hours, and we've got 2 days to go.
LA County reporting more than 300 mudslides, some pushing homes off their foundations, streets and streams turning into raging rivers. One man having to be rescued by helicopter after jumping into fast-moving water to save his dog. Sinkholes taking down power lines and gigantic potholes damaging dozens of cars. The flash flooding forcing some people to be rescued from the roofs of their cars.
The EU's Climate Change Service says that for the first time ever, average global temperatures have been more than 1.5 degrees Celsius hotter than in the pre-industrial era for an entire year.
Storms like those that soaked California earlier this month have also been worsened by the rising temperatures, according to scientists. These are the kind of impacts world leaders wanted to avoid when they signed the Paris Climate Agreement in 2015. Then, nations agreed to try and limit warming to just 1.5 degrees, averaged over decades. For now, this key threshold has only been breached in 2023, but with the world sweltering under record heat and countries falling far short of emissions goals, last year may well soon become the new normal.